Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode. Today, we're joined by an award winning author, youth researcher, and internationally recognized advocate exploring the intersection of technology and psychology. Her work focuses on how digital environments shape children and adolescents' mental health, behavior, online interactions, helping young people, parents, and educators better understand the impact of social media. From speaking at the UN and the University of Oxford to being named one of People magazine's Girls Changing the World, she's leading important conversations on youth online safety and well-being. Please welcome to this episode of Rose Tinted Ceilings, where we break glass ceilings to let girls shine. You're listening to episode 110, featuring Keegan, author of 60 Days of Disconnect.
Thank you, Isabella and Maggie, for having me. Wow, episode 110. That is wonderful. So much, so many narratives that you all have listened to and shaped and heard, and so many stories. And I'm sure you've all realized that throughout all of your leadership and advocacy, everyone does have a story to tell, and we can always learn something from everyone. And that's something that I've learned throughout my experience being in this space, is that there should be so much weight placed on the narrative and the lived experience and the personal socio-emotional elements that have a lot of weight, just as much as the technical side and the engineering side of things. So yeah, I'm incredibly passionate about this. This is kind of like my bread and butter, something that makes me lose all track of time thinking about and doing and speaking about. And it really started from my own personal experience when I was 16 years old. And I found myself to be very curious about the online world and social media, particularly in terms of how it was affecting my own behaviors, because I was finding that I had this kind of continuous habitual response toward social media, specifically Snapchat, that I found I was just kind of all consumed with the numbers and the streaks and responding. And I mainly became interested into why that was happening, and the psychology behind it, and the why. And so from that experience of understanding that, I decided to delete social media for 60 days. And that's really not that long of a time, but it gave me a good amount of time to understand how it was affecting my own mind. And I wanted to keep a journal as well. So I journaled my everyday thoughts and feelings and collaborated with a psychologist. And we wrote a book about it together. And that was kind of the catalyst. And then from that point, I started speaking to parents and children and youth, and really trying to understand what the sentiment was. And that has been what I've been doing for the past several years. And I haven't gotten tired of it, because it's just always evolving. It's always changing. It's going to look different tomorrow than it did today. And that's really what has kept me motivated to do this.
Absolutely. And Keegan, you said that 60 days without social media is not a lot of time. I think you're selling yourself short. I don't think I could go 6 days. Obviously, you can't get into your entire book's worth of work and your entire work and research right now, but could you briefly just delve into why could I not go 6 days without social media? Why is this a problem?
Well, it is a highly individual experience. There is a lot of overarching umbrella terms that are being thrown out regarding technology in general and social media. And what we know is that it is really hard to give any kind of definitive answer or any kind of causal relationship between social media and even gaming and technology and mental health and well-being. There's even debate over whether addiction should even be used, even though it's social media arguably operates in many similar ways that are comparable to that of a drug. and affects our brain and our mind in those ways. But addiction is a very clinical term, and we're still trying to decide if that is applicable. But there are many reasons as to why a person might keep coming back to social media. Number one could be that sense of reward and that kind of understanding that every time you open your phone, there is almost 100% guarantee that something satisfying is going to be there. Number two could be personal, social, seeing what your friends are doing, seeing what they're up to, having that kind of that connection, wanting to express yourself by posting something, wanting to observe what other people are doing or engage. Not all of these are bad reasons. I tend to take the side that social media can be very positive, just like digital technology as a whole. It can be very positive, and it is our future. But I would say that those are kind of the main reasons as to why it is difficult, because it's as you know, with our Gen Z culture, it's so prominent, and sometimes you feel like if you're not a part of it, then you're missing out on something. And I think to the point where it can be problematic is very personal, because where one person might struggle with the distraction of it and the kind of doom of scrolling, another person might struggle with the more pressure to feel like they need to paint a picture of their life every 3 seconds and show that to the world. So there's a lot of different reasons as to why we crave it, and why it's difficult to detach from it. And that's where a lot of my advocacy has been in finding that balance.
Thank you so much for breaking that down for us. I feel like a lot of times I do find myself reaching for my phone, reaching for the Instagram. You don't actually slow down and think, why am I doing that? And how can I take a step back? So thank you so much for that. And I think we're seeing this surface a lot more now, conversations around social media regulation, especially with the ban for youth under 16 in Australia, and now discussions in Canada where our podcast is based as well. And I'm curious what your thoughts are on that in terms of finding that balance, as you mentioned, and looking at policies and other programs and ways of regulating.
Right. Well, the bans, Australia, I feel like really was a big catalyst of that conversation, because they banned social media for children under 16. And what we know about how that has evolved is that only about 29% of young people under the age of 16 have actually complied with that ban. And there's a bunch of reasons as to why that has happened. Number one, you all know we're really smart. Teens are really good at circumventing these tools and getting around, what the age verification or the estimation or whatever it may be. Number two is I'm a firm believer that laws are really difficult to implement if they don't reflect to some degree the movement of social norms. And so if one group of youth can't be on social media, but they know that some of their older friends are, then that's going to be really hard to implement, because teens, as you know, that phase of development is so crucial emotionally and mentally, and they want to be a part of that. They want to get in on that. And so they're going to want to find ways around it. And it's kind of like the analogy that I use sometime in regards to alcohol and drinking. The amount of youth that are drinking nowadays is a lot less than when it used to be, even though drinking law hasn't really changed. Norms around drinking have. And so when social norms move with laws, that really creates more compliance, I feel like, in behavior. But if you have creating a divisive segregation between two different groups of youth of similar ages, it's really hard to implement a law. And that's why I think digital media literacy and kind of these alternative ways of understanding how the platform works and what you're getting into and being able to leverage those positive experiences are going to be more beneficial than putting a Band-Aid over a bullet hole. I'm sorry. But I mean, I'm sure you all, I'd be curious to know what you think as well, because it's I think for many places in many countries are having conversations about adopting bans and in schools as well. And I understand why that is a narrative that's being shaped, because it's they feel like perhaps it's just a quick fix, but without understanding really what the state of play is, and how many youth will actually tell you that they would prefer some kind of alternative regulation rather than no social media at all. So, what do you all think about it?
I love the way you explain that because I agree completely almost. Here in Canada, we have not yet had a social media ban, and we're over the age of 18 to 16 now anyway, so it wouldn't affect us. But a while ago, our school district did ban the use of cell phones. But in my head, it was never, oh, I guess I'll be more present in the moment. It might have
Right.
been like the 5 stages of grief. My first thing was denial. It was there's no way that's gonna be enforced. I'm still gonna be on my phone. I'm still gonna be able to use my phone in school. That's fine. Because there was no way myself or any of my peers were going to be like, okay, phones are banned. We won't use our phones.
Totally. See,
Oh,
yes.
how do we get teens to listen then? Because again, I myself in that situation would not have listened to that ban, would not have listened to any social media laws. So, in your experience, how do you think we present that message in a way that actually shows them we're trying to help you?
Right, I guess. And I think many young people understand whenever they hear this from their parents and their teachers, they're like, I understand that my phone is highly stimulating and highly distracting and highly this and that. And I think the best way to get them to listen is through word of mouth and a shared sentiment among each other. And it's really based in community and holding each other accountable, and it's a very behavioral approach. um, I think that there is going to be a lot more movement and a lot more optimism and kind of the self-regulation and self-awareness and education, more than kind of the technical side of things. I do think that there needs to be more regulation online, and social media platforms can always continue to evolve their safety measures, and I think that there's no end goal when it comes to safety. I mean, even at Roblox. But I think that at the end of the day, we as users make the choice to open the social media platform. It's not, and if you think it's all entirely bad, just get off of it. Just get off of it. But if you're on it and all you're doing is complaining about how bad it is, and you're not really, I tend to take an approach that's very balanced and very autonomous. I believe that we have agency in how we approach the platforms, and that does not dismiss the fact that there are true mental health issues that might be sparked by social media. And I've seen it. I've seen kids cry over it, and it's deeply personal and very emotional, and we as leaders need to be aware of that and those issues. But I also think that there needs to be more kind of focus on the self and the self-awareness and like our own choice, and then working with the tech companies as well. And I think that that's why there's been more of a focus on product features, from the industry, because they know that it's really hard to ban a platform all encompassing, and that if they focus on one particular feature, that might help. So it's a whole can of worms, really.
I'm super curious. I mean, I like that there's kind of this theme running throughout of finding balance between using social media and not, balance between education and media literacy, and institutions, big tech, actually being held accountable for the features that they're creating, and the features they're creating to help as well. And I'm curious for you, like what positives have you seen come out of your own social media use as a tech advocate? What have been some memorable moments for you?
Well, thank you for asking that, Isabella, because I think it is important to talk about the positives of it just as much as the challenges. And for me, I think some of the most positive experiences that I've had on social media is from the point of connection and community, and how simple it is to kind of feel this sense of belonging and love, as long as we are intentional about seeking that. And I have really made an effort to ensure that my social media lifestyle is as similar and imitative as my real world relationships. And so that means I don't really like to follow anyone, or that I don't really, that I want to make sure I have there's a relationship there. My account is public, just because of the things that I share and things of that nature. But I find it to be a great communication tool. I know, like, even for my younger sister who's 18, um, social media is a huge platform for communication, specifically in Snapchat for her age. I don't have Snapchat anymore. I don't. Do you all have Snapchat?
We're not avid users now.
Okay. It's always interesting to hear where that app is going, because for my sister's age group at the 18, she's 18, she's just graduated high school, it's very popular still.
I'm confused. Sometimes I feel like it's dying and it's
Mhm.
resurrected the next day. It's
I
an phenomenon.
it's its own situation. It's its own, yeah, that's its own drama. And I think Snapchat also has a teen council,
Yeah.
if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, yeah. So that, I think it would be, the three pillars would be for me: connection, communication, and expression, in terms of the positives of my own social media use. What about you? What about you both?
Well, obviously, we'd want to say social media gave us a chance to do this.
LinkedIn, doing that LinkedIn.
You have no idea the LinkedIn warriors you're talking to right now. We do not play.
I know. No, you're on it. You're on that. You're
Yeah.
on that. I
But
love it.
yeah, like, we obviously love the digital space and we want to preserve it to do good. That's why what we're trying to do with the podcast. So I'm really glad that you're here pointing out the positives, because I feel like sometimes in advocacy, you want to advocate for better, and sometimes you can get lost in the what do we need to fix? What do we need to fix? What do we need better? I'm kind of thinking about what's good. And you've talked a lot about, again, as Isabella pointed out, we've talked a lot about balancing all these different themes today, but I want to talk about you, Keegan. For those of you who don't know, she's also a college student. She is in university, and she's doing all this advocacy work, and I just want to ask you, how? How are we balancing this? What advice can you give people who are in similar situations?
You know, it is, I think this is something that takes courage. I think your life, someone has recently told me, your life can instantly shrink or expand based on the courage that you are willing to give. And in any kind of advocacy and any kind of leadership, it takes a lot sometimes of discomfort, of having difficult conversations, of learning how to balance multiple things at once. And I think it's taken a lot of trial and error, to be able to make this a priority in my life, and also balance academics and relationships and all of these things that come with, you will see, being a college student. It's not easy, but I think if you truly want to make a difference, if you have this intrinsic curiosity, which I believe I can see it already that both of you do, it's kind of something that, like I said, makes you lose all track of time. And that when you're doing it, it feels like work because you're putting energy and mental energy into it, but the fruits of it are incredibly fruitful. And it's energizing. And honestly, I feel like if I didn't have a passion like this, that I would feel a little bit burnt out. I think it has taught me to balance. It's taught me that there is more to the world than grades and numbers, and that it's important to have a something that you're looking up to, some passion project. So how I don't know. I don't know if any I don't know if I ever really know what I'm doing. I think that there's that moment between the ages of, I think it was Taylor Swift who said in an interview, she was like, between the ages of like 18 to 24, there is a intensity of emotion that is felt. There is a clinically detailed vividness of your life that is highly memorable and intense, and you want to do everything, and you feel like something wonderful can happen at the turn of every corner, and it propels you to want to do things. And I think that people who have that aspirational desire, it affects them very deeply. And sometimes it takes reaching the point of exhaustion, utter exhaustion, to realize I actually have to focus more on quality over quantity and the art of saying no. And I think that's the long version of that answer.
I
Yeah.
the moment earlier where you said not to put a band-aid on a bullet hole. I was wondering if that was a Taylor Swift reference.
Oh my gosh. Have you listened? Are you Swifties?
Yes, of course. So when you said, I was like, I'm not gonna ask it, but I have an inkling where that came from. So I'm glad you got my answer.
No, yeah, no, right. No, honestly, I've not ever really been like a Swiftie, but recently, maybe it's just part of being 21, she has become a very integral part of my life. But she has such her lyrics are so deep, and they're like poetry. They are poetry. She is a poet, and she just says things and constructs sentences in a way that is so, like, it's just like you're like, "Ah, I feel seen." I feel heard. Do you like Gracie Abrams as well, or
So get me started.
or no?
I love Gracie Abrams.
Gosh, I love her too. She's coming out with a new album as well.
I know.
Yeah.
Same,
And yeah, sorry, we got off track. Sorry.
but that can wait until after the episode.
Yeah, right.
No, I love it. And I mean, Taylor has Songa 22 as well. So when you're there, you have a song waiting for you.
So true. That should be like number one on the playlist of my, yeah, that birthday. Yeah.
And I just I want to appreciate what you said when you said, sometimes I don't actually really know how. I just want to appreciate that for a moment, because I think that especially for girls listening, and for myself as well, I think when we look at advocates and people we admire, we always think they have it all figured out. So I think that there's a certain vulnerability and sincerity that you show that I really appreciate, and that I think helps will help a lot of people listening, and us as well. That kind of factor. You know what? None of us actually know what we're doing, and it's okay.
Even I've asked, the people here at Roblox, they're like, no one, we're doing what we're supposed to be doing, and we're doing what we love to do, but there's always that sense of, is this right? Am I saying this right? Am I doing this right? And I think it just propels us to continue to improve and motivate us to continue to be better.
That said, there's still so much wisdom and great advice that I'm sure Maggie and I will be talking about lots after this episode too. So yeah, if you have any last pieces of advice or just anything that you want to say to the girls listening, floor is yours.
I will say one of the greatest pieces of advice that I've ever received from a mentor is that we have the ability to expand our surface area for luck. And what that means is that luck doesn't just magically happen to us. We put ourselves in positions that expands the capacity that it will happen. And that means taking the opportunity, accepting an invitation, saying yes to things that you may not even be interested in or have any idea what to expect, because you're often not regretful that you do. And if you never know where it will lead, and you never know that if you meet someone there where they will come back into your life full circle. And so I think it's about being ready when luck does arrive and putting yourself in situations that take a lot of courage and discomfort and expand the probability that it will land in your lap. And there is a magic to that. I do believe in fate. I do believe that things that happen to us are meant for us, and that we are the writers of our stories, and we should take risks, and we should fail, and we should try again and fail again, and have bad moments and have beautiful moments. But I also believe that we as the writers, as the people that hold the pen, we also put ourselves in those situations that expand that. And for young women, I am a young woman, and I look up to really great, empowering women who have such an eye for who they are and what the world needs, and all of that. And they've got this charisma, they've got this competence. And I think that the more we put ourselves in opportunities, we continue to find more of ourselves and more of the chance that luck will happen. So that's what I would tell young girls.
I absolutely love that. When you brought it up the first time in that Roblox meeting, I was there like, make sure she says this in the episode.
Say it in the Roblox meeting. It continues to be one of the greatest pieces of advice because it's so true.
I was really hoping you would mention that, because that definitely stuck with me, and I know it stuck with a lot of our viewers. And again, just thank you so much for sharing your wisdom, your advice. And before we close off, where can our viewers find you? Where can they find your work?
So you can find me on my website. My website is www.keeganwlee.com, and everything is there. All the resources are there. You can also find me on LinkedIn. LinkedIn, it's just Keegan Lee, and Instagram is just Keegan____Lee. And yeah, so I would love to connect, and I love having conversations and talking and learning about people. And here at Roblox, I'm doing a lot more listening than talking, which is important. So I'm just absorbing a lot of information, and that's something that I just love to do. So I would love to do that with anyone.
Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you both so much. It was wonderful, truly.